Alright, so we're going to be going over how to set up your layout for CCG races. You're probably going to have a lot of stuff already set up for your streaming. Easiest way to make sure everything works great with the CCG restreams is just to go ahead and make a new scene collection. I'm going to name mine CCG Layouts. The reason why you want to do this is just so you don't have any, audio for alerts coming through or any issues that you don't, think of ahead of time. So you're going to want to make your new scene collection, and then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to download the layout pack in the CCG Streaming Guidelines doc. So big link in the center of the document, just download that and then find the layout you need. So for us, we're going to need 4x3 player overlay blue, since we're going to be setting up for Super Mario 64 today. So the next thing we're going to add is the clock. So just head back over to the Streaming Guidelines doc, copy the URL for the clock, and back on OBS, right click under sources, click add, click browser, and I'm just going to name mine clock. Paste that on into the URL field and click OK, and the clock should pop up right there. The next thing we're going to do is make sure this fits in this box nicely here. So to do that, we're just going to right click on the clock down here, click on transform, click on edit transform, and then just fill in these values based on the image in the Streaming Guidelines doc. So I'll have those highlighted so it's easy to figure out which ones you need to do, and it will get everything looking perfect here. Alright, so we've got that all set up. And the next thing we're going to want to do is add our game feed. So we're either going to use a capture card or a emulator window capture. You should already know how to do that. If you have any troubles setting that up in general, go ahead and shoot us a message in the tech setup channel and we'll help you out. So for this instance, we're going to be using a capture card. So I'm going to right click, add video capture device, and name this capture card. And these settings can be a bit of a mess. Hopefully your default settings work. If not, and you need help setting everything up, again, just let us know. Click on OK. So the first thing we're going to want to do is crop out these black bars here and fit everything in the overlay. So to make things super easy, we're just going to head up to Edit, Preview Scaling, and select Canvas. What this does is if we hold space, we can scroll on our scroll wheel in and out to resize the image that we're looking at here. If we click and drag while holding space, we can move around the canvas. So that's going to make things super easy for resizing everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in down here and hold Alt and click on this bottom left-hand corner, drag that on up until it gets over the feed. You want to crop a little bit extra rather than a little bit too little. You don't want to have any black bars. That's the number one thing. Then I'm going to head up here, do the same thing, and just zoom in quite a bit so that you can get things lined up just right. I hold control while I'm doing this as well, so just click and drag while holding control. That'll disable snapping so you don't have to worry about that. And then I'm just going to head down here. I'm going to hold control and shift and click and drag on this to line things up. You can zoom in quite far to do this as well. Main thing is you want it over the lines, not going into the other layout elements, but you don't want any black bars in the main box. So once that's done, we only have a couple more things to do. Just go ahead and right click down here to add a window capture for your live split. So here's live split. Mine's already a nice size. It's likely you'll have to use Control and Shift to resize this. You can also resize your live split window if you want to do that way. But just make sure you don't have any black bars. There's a little bit there, and like I said, going over the lines is much better than going under. So the last thing we're going to add is our webcam. Webcams aren't mandatory or anything, but if you want to use your webcam, we highly encourage it. It adds a lot to the stream and makes it a lot more fun for the chat. So I'm just going to use a placeholder here. Our good friend XQC has graciously allowed us to use his image. So I'm just going to use the same sort of concepts to crop my webcam down to fit in this box. It doesn't have to be super precise. Just try to, center yourself in the webcam as much as possible. Alright, so the last thing we want to do, now that we have everything set up here, is just get everything in the right order. So our overlay should be on top here. Just click and drag that to the top. Capture card and webcam doesn't really matter. Just make sure everything looks good. Make sure the lines are on top of everything. You can zoom in to make sure, you know, everything looks good. And at that point, you are done with the visual part of the setup. Alright, so to handle your audio, what you're going to want to do is, if you're using a capture card, you're going to want to head over here, add an audio input capture, click on OK, and then select the device for wherever you have your audio coming in. So for me, it's line in. You see it's lighting up down here. Ignore the fact it's only one channel. That is because I have a really scuffed cable, but that's okay. So basically, you're just going to want to have your audio somewhere in the yellow area. Doesn't really matter. We're going to mess with this on our end anyways. Just make sure you have audio and it's not blasting up into the red constantly. So to handle emulator audio, the easiest way is to just go to Add Application Audio Capture, click OK, and it'll pop up with this window. And you're going to want to select Project 64 for our example. And then you see right here, Audio Application Capture is lighting up. So yeah, that's all you have to do to set that up, is get those added. Obviously, you're only going to need one of these, but I wanted to demonstrate both options. You don't want to use desktop audio because that's going to give the audio for the commentary booth as well. So if you're doing an interview, you're going to have looping audio. It makes everything a whole mess. But yeah, other than that, couple of things. If you have issues with this clock going into the right spot, go ahead and enter your settings and make sure that your base canvas resolution is set to 1920 by 1080. And another thing is make sure that your output video bit rate is set to something like 4000. It should default to 6, I think. But yeah, we want to keep things relatively reasonable, especially if you know you're going to be in like a community race where there's 6+ people on the stream. You don't want to have too high of a bit rate because it makes it a lot harder on our computers on our end. But yeah, after you get everything figured out and set up, just go ahead and give us a ping in the tech setup channel on the Discord and we will get you sorted.